Hey everybody, it's Fiyaki the DM, and today we're gonna go find a topic. All right. It's early morning for me in this recording. I got a lot of stuff to do today. I figured I'd throw something up here. Why not? So, so let's see what we got here. r/DnD. Very cool. I would love that. Having my whole family there for D&D. That's sweet. And that's the one we did yesterday. 3,000 upvotes now. Oh my gosh. Okay. Perfect. Caught my DM fudging dice rolls, and it kind of ruined the game for me by Always01. I recently discovered something that left me pretty frustrated with my campaign. I designed a highly evasive flying PC specifically built to avoid getting hit. With my shield reactions, my AC was boosted to 24, and I had mirror image active for extra protection. Huh. We faced off against a dragon, and something felt very wrong. My shield reactions weren't working, and mirror image seemed entirely useless. Despite my AC being at 24, the dragon's multi attacks were constantly hitting above that threshold. It didn't matter what I did, every attack connected. I ended up getting down 4 times during the fight, which felt ridiculous considering the precautions that I had taken. After the session, I found out from another player that DM had admitted to fudging dice rolls, specifically to make sure my character got hit. His justification that my character's evasiveness was ruining the fight and throwing off the game's balance. I get DMs sometimes fudge rolls for storytelling purposes, but it feels incredibly disheartening when it's done specifically to counter a character's core build. It feels like all the planning creativity I put into making a highly evasive character was intentionally invalidated. This post has 2,000 upvotes. My initial thought, this is a ridiculous player. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so here we have um a player who has a build, an OP build. They don't say how long they played this campaign for, but if there's dragons, we gotta assume maybe they've done a few sessions before the dragon fight, maybe a bunch of sessions. So this character has been playing as someone that doesn't get hit, and he's going through goblin caves or he's going through mind flayer, excursions, and he's not getting hit by anything. Maybe a saving throw. Sometimes he gets it, by something, but he's not getting hit by anything. So finally, there's this fight. He's like, "Oh, here we go, another fight, nothing to worry about." And it's a dragon. It's a fucking dragon. And he gets hit too much during the fight. Does he go down 4 times during that fight? Okay, that's a lot to go down. How many times did everyone else go down? Are you just getting targeted? But okay, so the DM admitted the fudging rolls, and that's. I don't think you're supposed to do that as the DM. You're not supposed to tell the other players, "Oh yeah, I fudge rolls to kill that guy." I don't think there's anything cool, anything interesting about that. I think you don't have to say that. You just let it be. Maybe why would they even do that? So his justification was that my character's basis was ruining the fight and throwing off the game's balance, which it kind of was. And this dragon, an all powerful beast being, is going to take care of that. The dragon is going to effectively um, one up you, and you have to deal with that. So let's read these comments. I think this poster is a little salty just because he died a bunch. It doesn't even seem like he lost his character. All the planning and creativity I put in my highly evasive character was intentionally validated. If this was the first fight, maybe. Maybe the DM's trying to say, like, a dragon's not going to let you do that. But if this fight is like a bunch of fights and he's got to be evasive, how is this ruining his character and validating if he's playing a campaign with this thing? Okay, Bad Pirate 829. Mirror image doesn't work on dragons. They have blind sight. That doesn't address the fudging rolls, but might take some sting out of your strategy not working. Mirror image doesn't work on dragons. Cool. Good to know, everyone. Specific culture replies, yes, that plus adult dragon has plus 11 or plus 14 to hit, depending on the dragon. It's not shocking. There's 88 replies here. Let's go. Tedet Bather flag says 17 for an ancient dragon. Shrimp replies to specific culture about the 11 and 14 and says, yeah, but to be fair, even more reason he should have never have to fudge any rolls. The dragon should be doing just fine on his own without robbing the player of their moment and cheating. And OP said they went down 4 times. That does not sound like the DM preserving the suspense of the moment to me at all. Personally, as a DM, I only fudge rolls if it would completely ruin the story and take away from my PC's big moment. And even then, I'm not turning on that one into a nat 20 or vice versa. Reply to that guy says from Specific Culture 591, but OP doesn't actually know if the DM fudge rolls. Another player is claiming the DM said that, but it doesn't mean it actually happened. OP should go talk to the DM. Hold up. This is just a stupid comment. He said the DM justified it from the other guy. Why would the other guy just be lying? It's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous comment. The reply from Shrimp says, that's true. The most important thing is the conversation has to happen. And if it does turn out one player is making it up, then there's a different conversation that has to happen. Lol. Making a reply from Aletha, making up or just misunderstanding. If the DM said, yeah, I fudged a couple rolls last session, it doesn't necessarily mean these combat rolls or even rolls against characters. A reply to that from Gorm the Worm says, the post said that the GM admitted to fudging rolls, specifically to make sure the character got hit because their evasiveness was ruining the fight. If there is a misunderstanding, there is a huge misunderstanding, or someone was outright lying. One more reply from Natchez. Not saying you were wrong, but the second-hand account from another player. Guys. Downvotes all around. Downvotes all around. Downvotes all around. Okay. The next one after specific culture. Oh, wait. No. We got to the single comment thread. That was our issue here. Okay. The next one after the mirror image one. Tableau says, today I learned mirror image doesn't work on creatures with blind sight. Makes sense, just never even thought about it. Lithel says, I've got a rogue bard who often casts mirror image turn 1 because I often go first and can't sneak on anything. I went something like 10 consecutive battles where I didn't get targeted by any attacks, or the only attacks targeting me were creatures with blind sight or true sight. Like, not being targeted is even better than a 75% chance of having an illusion get targeted, but it felt like a waste of a spell slot. Last session, we were fighting undead, and a barrow gas burst up from the ground. It squished 2 of my illusions before I disengaged and got out of the dodge. Then the wizard threw up a wall of force between us and it. I felt very good about my mirror image then. Then a few days later, as a DM, I ran a boss fight where the first boss' first 2 turns were greater invisibility and mirror image, which significantly lowered my players' attempts to kill her. And the wizard didn't want to cast Fireball or Wall of Fire because the fight was taking place on the party's own ship, which was already damaged. The vegan straight edge says, just talk to them. It's not difficult. Also, dragons are super fucking OP and should likely hit you regardless of all your bullshit. There's the best comment. Bonds Bonkles RS replies, 40% with the shield, 65% without, on average. The chance of a dragon will hit you at least once per turn with a 19 AC is 97%. Using a shield that round, 24 AC is 78%. If DM did fudge rolls, it's only because they didn't understand the math. But Alt OP has his player X's word that the DM said that. He probably said that. Why wouldn't he be saying that to another player? Why would the other player just make it up? Why would the other player make drama? It's like a whole. There's no information about the other player being dramatic, so it's not about that. Brilliant Cup 8903 says, why is everyone in this thread dropping percentages like it's totally normal for a single player to take every attack every single round? LMAFO! 3 more. -11. Bonkles RS replies, this guy flies. A dragon flies. Who is going to be up in a dragon's face? The guy who flies. And who is going to take attacks? The guy in the dragon's face. I'm not going to walk across the room and put an ant in a jar to take it outside if there's an ant right in front of me and the jar in my hand. It is all times ludicrous to try and evenly spread damage across an entire party. That's not a smart monster. And if nothing has changed since the last round, the dragon is not going to change tactics. You're still in my face, eat 3 more attacks. Lol, someone doesn't play D&D. Who said that? To what? Wait. Ah, we lose in the thread. Here. Okay. He's replying. Oh my goodness. This new Reddit is so bad. Okay. I guess they're just hating on the percentages. I guess this is a joke that like you get like a bunch of like nat ones. Like all night you roll nat ones. And then math is nothing. There's 20 freaking dice, not 6. Or 20 sides on a dice. Dragon famously for that thing they do with the bypass AC. I just don't remember what it was. Sminko says. TTYYYBB underscore says the most iconic part of dragons, their tail swipe legendary reaction. If I recall, it's a deck saving throw. So bye AC. What if we sort by best or top? Does it change it all? Oh yeah, see this is okay. It already kind of was. Okay, let's do this one. Salem Black. I've been DMing for nearly 20 years at this point, and let me give you some insight about fudging in D&D. There's a contract, whether spoken or unspoken, between the DM and the player that everyone agrees that to the beginning of the game. The DM agrees to curate an enjoyable, engaging experience for the players, and the players agree to trust their DM's discretion to accomplish this. What this means in practice is that I, as the DM, fudge rolls somewhat regularly. I fudge rolls in favor of the players and due to the detriment of the players depending on the context. Because my number one job is to make sure the players are having a fun experience, and that's what required sometimes. My players, in return, understanding that fudging rolls is my prerogative to make sure the experience is engaging. However, it seems like your DM has reneged on their side of the contract. They're not creating a fun or engaging experience for you by hard countering your character's core strategy. Part of DMing is recognizing the investment that you and your players have made in the specific features or strategies and honoring it. If you're in my game, and I felt your AC was becoming an actual problem, I just include a few AoE attacks from time to time. No fudging needed. Given that all dragons have breath weapons, I'm not sure what your DM didn't use in this case. I have a bone to pick with anybody who's hard up about DM fudging rolls. If someone is absolutely opposed to the DM fudging rolls, then I don't think they're a very mature player. That's part of the game. The DMG explicitly says that the DM's judgment outweighs any roll. However, that means the DM has continually demonstrate that they're trustworthy and have good judgment. Doesn't sound like yours is. I like that one. That was a good reply. Yeah, fudging rolls. I mean, look, you can fudge your rolls, or you can be really invested in the sanctity of the random. I say, do what's fun. Roll your dice. Look at your rice dice. That's giving you an option, but you can always go the other way. You roll your dice. Hmm. You know what? This bandit is gonna it's gonna fail that saving throw. To continue the story, you could get stuck somewhere or something like that, and you need a character to do something, and maybe a player figures something out and it's like, oh yeah, that'll advance us, and then they roll real low on something. It's like, oh no, that works actually. You know, happens sometimes. All right, let's look at some of these replies. Kick the Cheat says, I'll add a corollary to this. As a DM, I actually never fudge a dice roll. I do, however, have my monsters do very stupid things on occasion. Cool. Jan for the Small says, years ago, a friend of mine DMing a new campaign and gave the players a choice. Use a screen with the understanding that they'll sometimes roll behind it and the possibility of all fudge rolls here and there, or not using it and roll in the open all the time. They chose the latter. After a couple near PC deaths to tragic double critical success during especially hard combat, they begged for the screen. Fudging rolls is not always bad on the DM's part. It is usually, or at least, should be used to enhance the story of the player's enjoyment of it. If what OP is saying is actually the truth, the DM royally fucked up, in my opinion, but I'm a little skeptical in that regard. As a dragon hitting about CA of 24, it's not exactly hard without any fudging involved. A reply to that from No Description 5663. What has me believing OP is two things, and this under the assumption that OP is honest with us. 1. DM admitted to another player that they're fudging rolls against OP. 2. Even with high modifiers, a dragon hitting every single time is very low odds. There should have been a few misrolls. We don't know if the DM was targeting OP or not. If they were, it makes a huge difference when it comes to fudging. Speculatively, if the DM was both fudging rolls and targeting OP, that's a party foul, and that needs to be addressed. The dragon might target a character, sure, but as a DM, you can't target or fudge to hit every time. That's going to seriously neg out the player. Mickey Rivera replies, but is this consistent with how the DM normally rolls? I played with the same party for several years through multiple campaigns. The player rolls are not hidden, and the two of us consistently roll high. Two of us consistently roll low, and one of us rolls average. It wouldn't be outside the norm for some of us to not miss for the whole encounter. All right, let's look at the controversial. Remarkable lead 7704. The DM reserves the right to alter things based off of circumstances of an encounter. Fudging a dice is included in that. Now, with that being said, I only do that when the probability becomes too common for theoretics to be harmed. I have found that DMs love the difficulty, but I hate things being hard, so I even the odds on small occasions to ensure that the fight is meaningful, but also potentially winnable. Unless I state beforehand in the group that there is potentially lethality or great danger, the DM here said he just wanted to put your character down for an encounter balance. Fudging for the sole purpose of downing you over and over is a tad mean. Generation generational hate toward flyers. Ha ha ha. Out of curiosity, what's your build? Morph1138 says, first, I want to say I fudge dice all the time in service of the story. Might be so a player doesn't die, but be a big boss fight goes one more round. Might be because we just need something to happen. It's not something like you feel you fudged only intentionally against you, which is not cool. However, with a bit more information, who knows how bad it is? You had an AC of 24. Well, I only need to roll a 10 to hit you with a red dragon. That's hitting half the time for 40 points of damage. So true. Because the dragons have that plus high to hit. So, right, you only need 50% of the dice. The good Otor Jones says, down ain't dead. DM's only mistake was talking. Never ever show behind the curtain. Yeah, and with that, I'm gonna end it here, and have my final words. So, fudging dice rolls, just do it. Don't do it. Don't feel bad about it if you do it. Just don't do it to be the worst. Do it to make the game keep going, make the game more fun, make the players happy in a moment and terrified in another moment. That's when you do it. So, oh, and just like this comment says, never ever share behind the curtain. Keep that to yourself. Keep it in DM spaces like this. We talk about the curtain with fellow DMs. You don't want to lose the immersion for your players. You don't want them to start thinking like you're not planning something or not keeping track of something or you're targeting somebody or just the space of our DMs, us. That's where we'll talk about stuff. So have a good one.